You pour water into a glass perfectly 3 times. Then someone watches your hand, and on the 4th try, you hit the rim. The glass is the same. Your hand is the same. You knew exactly what to do 1 second earlier. Yet the moment the movement becomes visible to someone else, it stops feeling automatic. That is the strange part. Being watched does not erase the skill. It changes what the movement means. Alone, pouring water is nothing. There is no audience, no judgment, no consequence. But when someone looks directly at your hand, the action becomes a performance. Now they can see whether you succeed. They can see the hesitation. They can watch the mistake happen. The movement has not become physically harder. It has become socially important. And that changes the way you try to control it. The first change is in the body. The moment the action feels like a test, you try to make it safer. You grip harder. You stiffen the wrist. You slow down. You begin correcting the movement before anything has actually gone wrong. That feels logical. More effort should create more control. But precise movement does not depend on maximum effort. It depends on exactly enough force, released and adjusted at exactly the right moments. A relaxed hand can make tiny corrections without you noticing. A tense hand cannot. Too many muscles begin working at once. The grip becomes rigid. The wrist stops adapting. A correction that should be almost invisible becomes too large. The hand does not fail because it is doing too little. It begins to fail because it is doing too much. But tension is only the first layer. A familiar movement feels like one simple command. Pick up the glass, turn the key, sign your name. Yet each of those actions is built from tiny adjustments. Your fingers close by different amounts. Your wrist stabilizes. Your arm slows as it reaches the target. Your grip changes as the object moves. Your eyes update the distance, and the movement responds before you need to think about what changed. Normally, you never control those pieces separately. Practice has fused them into one smooth pattern. That is why you can sign your name while thinking about something else. You choose the goal, and the movement handles the details. Then someone watches. Now your attention moves inside the action. Do not grip too hard. Keep the hand still. Move slowly. Do not miss. Do not shake now. Each thought is supposed to protect the movement. Instead, each one interrupts it. The hand starts. You check it. The hand adjusts. You check again. A movement that normally runs as one connected pattern becomes a series of corrections. You are no longer simply doing the action. You are supervising yourself doing it. And that creates a conflict. The learned routine is still trying to finish the movement, but conscious attention keeps stepping in to improve individual parts before the movement is complete. One part of you knows how to do it. Another part keeps asking whether it is being done correctly. That is when the action starts to feel unfamiliar. The grip is suddenly something you notice. The path of the hand becomes something you calculate. The movement becomes slower and less natural precisely because you're trying to make it more reliable. But the real collapse usually begins with one tiny mistake. Not a dramatic failure. Just a pause. A grip that is slightly too tight. A small overshoot. A signature that looks a little wrong. You notice it immediately, and now the observer is not the only person watching your hand. You are watching it too. Your attention splits between the movement, the possibility of another error, and the other person's reaction. You try to correct what just happened. That correction changes the next part of the movement. You feel the change, so you monitor the hand even more closely. Being watched creates more control. More control creates a small deviation. The deviation creates alarm. Alarm creates even more control. The first mistake starts producing the next one. Think about writing your signature while someone waits for it. The first letter looks slightly strange, so you try to make the second letter look normal. Because you are controlling it more carefully, it becomes slower and less familiar. Now the first letter looks even worse. By the end, you are no longer writing your name. You are trying to imitate the way you normally write your name. If this changed your perspective, leave a like. That is why the problem can grow so quickly. The movement is no longer about reaching the glass or turning the key. It is about not failing again. And the more important that becomes, the less naturally the movement unfolds. Eventually, it can feel as if the hand has stopped obeying. But the hand has not forgotten anything. You can consciously choose the goal of a movement. You can decide to lift the glass, guide the key, or draw the line. What you cannot easily do is replace every tiny adjustment that practice has already connected for you. The automatic routine is not a weaker form of control. It is the reason the movement is normally precise. It manages details you can use without being able to describe them. You know what a natural signature feels like, but the moment you try to command every curve, every spacing, and every change in pressure, that natural feeling begins to disappear. The skill remains available, but now you are protecting it, inspecting it, and correcting it before it has the chance to run normally. And once that loop begins, even the observer can become almost irrelevant. The first look may trigger the problem. After the first mistake, the pressure can continue even in silence. You search the observer's face for a reaction, and a neutral expression can feel like judgment because you are already looking for evidence that the failure mattered. Now the next attempt carries the memory of the first one. You are no longer beginning from zero. You are beginning with a warning. It happened once, so it could happen again. That warning makes you prepare earlier. You tighten before touching the object and monitor the movement before it starts. The attempt can therefore become awkward sooner each time. The next attempt may begin before anyone looks. You remember the previous failure, imagine the same pause, and start controlling the movement in advance. By the time the observer turns toward you, the hand is already tense. The gaze no longer creates the problem from nothing. It activates a pattern you have prepared. And this explains why the effect can survive the original moment. The observer only had to turn the movement into a test once. After that, you can recreate the test for yourself. This also explains why being watched does not ruin every action. Extra activation can help when the task is fast, simple, or forceful. If the goal is to push harder or move faster, more tension may help. The problem appears when the movement is already familiar, highly precise, easy to judge, and easy to consciously monitor. Signing your name, carrying a full glass, threading something small, doing something simple while another person waits for it to go wrong. The same attention that can add power to a rough movement can destroy the balance of a delicate one. So return to the glass. The person succeeded 3 times because the movement was allowed to remain ordinary. Then, the observer's gaze turned it into a test. The body added tension. The mind broke the action into instructions. One tiny deviation triggered more monitoring, and the attempt to prevent another error made the next one more likely. The skill never disappeared. The person interfered with it while trying to protect it. Your hands do not become clumsy because control vanishes. They become clumsy because you add too much of the wrong kind. Subscribe to Wonder Ledger for more hidden rules of being human. What should we uncover next?